Hello, TV fans and Stranger Things fans. Welcome. I am Bored Now, or Keith, and I am back with Alex from somewhere in October. Welcome back, Alex. Thanks for taking some time for us today. And we had Alex on a few weeks ago. We did a pretty meaty, in-depth Stranger Things discussion on stream. We are both anticipating the new season. And well, after last night, we have a little bit more details on what to expect, and there are just a tiny bit, yes, because at the first ever Netflix Tudum event, and that's how you have to say it. They need to change that title for a start.
Yeah.
Tudum event took place last night. It was 3 hours long, and the Stranger Things release of the teaser trailer for the new season was just a small part of that. It was nicely done, I would say. So they had a few of the main cast members there. They did a whole VHS sort of thing where they revealed like the teaser trailer through the VHS. They were like, we've got one more VHS to play you. And that, so it was nice. It was nice and nostalgic. Because what they did, first of all, which I thought was really cool, is they started going, like, different cast members went through some of their favorite memories, and they actually had footage of them filming some of the older episodes on set. So, like, at one point, Dustin, he wasn't there, but he came up on the video and he said, like, his favorite scene to shoot was the graveyard scene with Max when she was hovering. And they showed you like them actually doing it where Sadie Sink was on like a wire, like literally that's how they had her up in the air. And of course, Lucas shouting, Max, Max, you know, and probably some of that was quite real because he was maybe a bit terrified because she's really up on this wire. So that was fun. That was a nice way to do it, like getting into the nostalgia of it and how far this show has come and how different like these people are, how they've grown up on the show. The 2-minute teaser trailer, about 20 seconds of which was actual new stuff. So they did run through a lot of old stuff. They did show, because basically it was bookended. So you had Joyce talking to Will, which was obviously a new scene. I thought about that night for a lot over the years. And then we got a lot of kind of repeat of older seasons, older clips. And then we got some newer stuff at the end. What did you think of the teaser trailer?
Yeah, part of me was like, I wanted a little bit more, but at the same time, I also kind of loved it because, you know, nostalgia is such a big thing with Stranger Things. It doesn't matter like what season you're watching, and like even like watching the kids grow up, like everything is very nostalgic. So it was good to circle back to that. And I think it really solidifies that it starts and ends with that night. And I'm actually rewatching season 1 right now. And I'm really starting to pick up on details and the fact that, you know, do you want to talk about, is it okay if I talk about the new things that we see?
Yeah.
So one thing with Holly being a more front character, as we see from the trailer at least, like she's going to be in it. Holly had a little bit of an important role in season 1 itself because she sees what Joyce was seeing in the walls, like it was reaching for her. So I do like that is coming back, and it's making me think like what more from season 1 is going to circle back into this. And it gets me excited that, you know, we're going to see a lot more of Will in, you know, because I do think that is a very strong point of the seasons when Will is directly influenced and intertwined with the Upside Down.
Possibly going to be beyond the fact that they're showing like these older scenes because it's the final season and you've got all this history building up to this moment. I think there might also be a storyline reason for it. Like I said, when we did that discussion a few weeks ago, I think it's possible some of the time travel elements, there might be some things where they're trying to fix things from the past. And so I think it could work itself into the plot. I don't actually think it's just for the sake of nostalgia and just to say, okay, this is how we've got here. I think that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, even like when picking the clips, they have so many to choose from. So I think it is important to pay attention to which ones they chose. And it makes me excited but a little bit nervous. But we do know with Vecna, time, like the clock, is a really big thing. And we keep bringing back the night. And we know that season 4 ended with finding the diary with the date. So there is so many things to do with time. And we're coming up on the anniversary of what happened to Will. And I think that's all really going to tie into it.
Yeah, because I was reading a little bit on the website earlier, there is a little bit more plot detail. They say that the city's under lockdown. They say the government are searching for 11, which makes sense. It makes sense, and they would be. And it also says that Vecna is disappearing, or has disappeared, and they're not sure where he is, but the group have to come back together to try and take him down.
I really like that element because because you wonder how they're going to stretch out, because we know Vecna is the one they need to get, or at least we think so. So it's going to be really interesting that he's missing, because that's going to lead up to something very surprising or scary, because they have to find him eventually, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that makes sense with the lockdown, because a lot of the shots of 11, she was with Hopper. So it seems like Hopper's always on the military Hawkins lab Russian side of things. So it kind of makes sense that they're going to be really together in this.
Yeah.
But that makes me think more of, and we have that really, really great scene with Will. That was a really powerful scene when he's screaming, "Run." But it really starts to make me lean into the fact that maybe Will have powers. Because if 11 is not with the group, there's only so much they can do as people with weapons.
Yeah. And I think that's, I'm similar to you. I would have liked a bit more newer footage, but I know that does happen a lot of times with the first teaser trailer. I think sometimes you will get slowly more revealed with later ones. So I think people have to bear that in mind. But yeah, watching it, especially as you got towards the end and the music was amping up and you could see once again, this is going to be big scale and dramatic. I think visually it all came across very well, the newer stuff that we saw, the shaking of the ground, the rumbling of the ground. At one point, there's a crack in the ground and something appears to be breaking through. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, the red is really interesting.
Yeah.
To keep it vague, because we're so far away from November.
Yeah.
So I feel like they need to leave the big discussions for closer to, so the hype is up. Because if we all have our theories and discussions right now, by the time November comes around, we're just going to be like, hey, we're ready. But when they drop something else in between, it's just going to keep that wave going.
Yeah, because there's already, and it always happens, there's already people looking for little clues, even in the short amount we've got. And who knows, when we see the final thing, maybe you'll be able to say, yep, that was a clue. But because we got so little, it's very hard to tell at this point,
Yeah, I watched a couple videos of people trying to pick apart clues, but I was like, there's no actual real big clue here. This is all just assumptions. This is all guesswork. And I'm like, we don't have enough yet.
That's how I'm doing
now. Yeah, I'm going back through and trying to remember the scenes now that we've seen in the teaser, the people we've seen in the teaser, and trying to align them. We do also get a glimpse of some new characters when Mike is, shielding the kids. There's a couple new kids there. So it'll be interesting who we get introduced.
I know they have given Linda Hamilton a name, which is Dr. K. So it seems as though she might be part of the government setup or some sort of a scientist, which could be fun.
Yeah, and especially since the synopsis gives, there's going to be a lockdown. The scale of the Upside Down, what we're seeing of it, is terrifying. So we know it's going to be kind of not just the kids and the family and the group versus the Upside Down and Vecna. It's going to be Hawkins versus Vecna. So I think the military is going to play a really big role. And so it makes sense for her character to be there. I am very interested if it's going to end up with them working together or if it's going to be a continuous battle against them to solve what they need to solve. Because at what point are they going to say, okay, this is out of our scope, we can't do this?
Yeah, they could do that thing of, which sometimes you get in like 80s movies, where the military or the government are basically idiots who are just going in trigger happy. And it's actually the protagonist, the kids, who have to like try and solve things and get the answers.
Which kind of makes sense with Vecna being disappeared, because that gives them time to search for him in clues, while, say, the government or whoever is taking care of some of the monsters, because it's just, there's so much to juggle. So again, we're definitely going to get, like we've already seen it with Hopper and Eleven, there's going to be little groups. So it's going to be interesting how everybody comes together. That's one of my favorite things about all the seasons, is where we split off and who comes together. But I'm really nervous for who makes it and who doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, one thing I was thinking about, because of how important Joyce was in the trailer, and her and Will, is it does seem like she is going to play a key role, and it seems like she's going to be right out there with them battering this thing. And I wonder, just because she's Will's mother and you've got that blood connection, I wonder if that could be important.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if Will's key to stopping this.
Yeah, and like there's so much in the first season, I mean, with Joyce, and maybe it's just marketing that they're putting it out over Christmas as well, but I mean, there is so much Christmas imagery with Joyce, specifically with the lights in the first season. And Joyce is really the first person who, outside of Will and what comes to get Barb, like their house is where the creatures are, and Joyce is interacting with them. That's where Holly sees the creatures. So I do think there's something, whether it be, like you said, family or locational, there's definitely something that Joyce, I hope, has the power to do. I would really like her to have a really big hero arc. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, in the first season, like, she was like, I'm going to get you back, and she acts through a wall, so...
This is the season where, in some ways, they have to maybe kill off one or two big characters, and you do think maybe Joyce could be a potential sacrifice in that, because if you sacrifice Joyce, then you've got Hopper's reaction to that also, and the rest of the characters. I mean, I think we speculated that maybe Elle ultimately wasn't going to be like staying in this world by the end. Whether that means she sacrifices herself, or whether it just means she decides it's like time to move on, that kind of thing. But we're not obviously sure about Will. He potentially is going to be potential, you know, could be in danger because he's going to be so front and center. But who knows? It could be his mother who goes out instead. You know, maybe she'll become a sacrifice.
Yeah, and that could be a very big shift in Will. You know, if he's balancing these powers or these signs or whatever's going on with him, we're not sure. But if something happens to Joyce, or even with her being put in danger, you know, he's much older now. So I think instead of being, you know, the lost little boy that we see in season 1, that could be an arc where he takes those powers and uses them some way. But I'm nervous. I'm nervous for Will.
Yeah, very, very much. I mean, if ever it made sense for him to be a big part of the season, it's definitely this season. And another little tidbit which I noticed looking at the wiki page is that we've got Frank Darabont directing a couple of episodes, so that's very nice. Green Mile, Shawshank Redemption, also did The Mist, which is a big horror. So he was a part of Nightmare on Elm Street 3 quite early in his career. He was one of the screenwriters on that, so he has quite a lot of horror sort of lineage. So he's a really solid director and pretty big.
That'll be interesting
when it comes to horror. So that's a nice little pickup to have him direct a couple of episodes. That should be fun.
Yeah, it seems like with how they're rolling out the release, every episode is going to be high stakes for, you know, fan reaction, because it's, how many episodes is it again? Do you remember?
It's either 8 or 9. I think it might be 8.
Yeah. So how they're
yeah.
releasing it, there's going to be such high stakes in each episode. So I think there's going to be a lot put into each.
Because the finale of season 2 was, sorry, season 4 was like 2.5 hours. I think this will be 3 hours. I think they all want to top themselves, make it a big 3-hour event, and I'm fine with that, you know, and give them as much time as they need.
Give me all of it.
Yeah. Because I think people forget sometimes that compared to how long TV shows used to be, like these modern streaming shows, you know, they are quite short episodes relatively, or shorter seasons compared to that. And I think that's why they made the episodes last season so much longer, because they wanted to almost give you double the length each time.
Yeah, and this is such a complete full circle story. So it's not like they have to leave things open for a potential next season. Like, they know it's ending.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to use as much runtime as possible to make sure there's no plot holes, because everything has been so intertwined. You can't leave it with some things unanswered. I would hope not.
Yeah. And it did, like, when I went into the finale last time for season 4, the 2.5 hours just flew by, you know.
Yeah.
It's such event TV, which I think is one of the reasons I love this show, because you very rarely get shows that are like that anymore, where, you know, you can always pick little things here and there that could have been better, but when you're watching it, you're just so into it, just so into the emotion and the drama, and yeah, you just get swept along on a wave, really. I'll ask you about the release dates and how they've decided to do it, because it did catch me a bit off guard, because I was expecting more, maybe a late summer part 1 and then maybe into September or October for part 2. So yeah, that was the big surprise when they said coming this fall. That did surprise me.
Yeah, I find it very iffy. I think just from like a creator perspective, I was really excited to maybe watch these episodes and do like a recap or review, but over the holidays is like, it's not going to happen. I think it's good for people who maybe don't have a lot of things planned for the holidays or don't celebrate the holidays. It's the perfect time of year to binge something, but it's going to be hard for me to watch it, which sucks. And also it's so close together too. Like, I mean, November and then Christmas, we're going to be waiting, then we're going to get so much and we're going to wait again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't figure out strategically why. I mean, we do always get a lot of big Christmas releases, so maybe they want to lean into that. It would be interesting if any theaters would show maybe even the finale on New Year's Eve, something like that. I would love that. But I think that works up to what you're saying. I don't think they're going to just have a final episode released on its own, or at least a finale on its own day, be short or even comparable. Like, if we're saving that for something, like you said, I expect it to have a really big runtime, like movie worthy.
Are taking a bit of a gamble, and it might not do as well because they're releasing it, especially part 2, right bang in the holiday season.
Yeah.
And I was talking earlier to Mum, because we watch it together, and I mean, like a lot of people, chances are we'll be with family on Christmas. So, and the family we're with, like, they don't watch the show, so we were talking about sneaking away somewhere, watching it on, you know, a laptop, and you're right from creators' point of view, because I want to be right on it. You know, I want to try and get the reviews out as soon as possible. So it is what it is. I mean, it's going to be massive no matter what, but they're taking a spoiler gamble too. I think. Yeah, it is a gamble.
Because, like, I find with anything nowadays, if you don't watch it right away or you don't ignore social media, something will get spoiled for you.
Yeah.
So thinking about, like you said, Christmas season, you know, I know some people don't celebrate or they're going to have more time, but there's also people who are going to be working extra over the holiday season, because for some people that's more. So I think there's just going to be a big chunk of people who have to avoid spoilers so much, because people, like creators that can, are going to be pumping it out. There's going to be discussions. Like, I don't really use Threads or Twitter, but I know spoilers are rampant on there. And even with reels these days, I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh, that just spoiled Scream 2 for me, which happened. But yeah, I think it's a risk. I'm probably gonna have to like hide somewhere or not sleep and watch it because I need to.
Yeah, because it's a minefield nowadays where even if you're on like somewhere like Twitter or whatever, if you just see a hashtag without actually clicking on the hashtag, you're thinking, well, why are they mentioning this person like that?
Yes.
That has to be some sort of a spoiler. Partly why they've done it like this in 2 parts and things like that, because they're hoping it avoids spoilers more, but we'll see. It is very hard. Yeah, I guess you just have to be disciplined because I mean, luckily for me, like because of the time difference, so that like part 2, it actually goes into Boxing Day in the UK for when it gets released. So in a way, I can just enjoy Christmas and then probably watch it the next day, those episodes. But it will be a challenge, and I will try and stay on top of it and get some of the reviews out.
Me too. It's going to have some ratty videos going up, but I will make it work. I'm so excited for it. And I think like even though thinking of it on like a time schedule, it's a little bit overwhelming and spoilers freaks me out. But I do think if I have a little bit of snow at Christmas time and it's quiet, it's going to be kind of the perfect time to watch it. So we'll see.
And I wonder if maybe that's why they went for this, because they haven't really had like a Christmas themed sort of season. Obviously, they've had the odd scene at Christmas, like the end of season 1, but they haven't really had that sort of themed season before. So that could be part of the reason. And
yeah, I do wonder if the whole like what's being released at those times maybe covers those times, because it would be very interesting, especially when we're talking about time and we're talking about, you know, time travel, for it to be a new year would be a very interesting finale.
Yeah, well, I was thinking the same. I think that's something they could do, and they could, because I was listening to someone talking about it last night, and he was saying like you could actually have it quite themed, like the way they separate it, because I mean November in a way is still, you're coming out of like Halloween season, so you could have a little bit of a theme there, autumn, but then as you get into December, you can obviously do Christmas type stuff. And like you said, you could do, I mean, in some ways, it's the perfect way to end a show where it's these characters now thinking about the future, the ones that are around, and thinking, what do we do next with our lives? Because they're that sort of age, you know, the younger characters. I mean, again, the whole thing with Nancy, Jonathan, and that whole thing, you could almost have something like that where they're deciding their futures. Like, do we stay together in the same town? Do we go our separate ways? Like, has this run our course? That kind of thing. Yeah,
it's going to be really interesting. I do hope, and I believe, because everything they do has been very intentional and very intertwined. So I do hope that this is more than a marketing thing. I hope this is also a Stranger Things thing, which seems to be the way. You know, the marketing they do usually ties back in. So I will hope for that.
Yeah, and if it is 3 hours, the finale, I mean, I think we're looking at least 2.5 hours. So I think you do have that extra time to like spend with the characters at the end after the final big battle, and then you can kind of tie everything up with the main characters and say this is their future, this is where they're heading, maybe. So that would be fun. I still think Nancy should end up single. I would actually quite like that. I would quite like her kind of going off and doing her own thing, like ending up an independent woman. I think that might be quite nice.
Yeah, it's so difficult because we're also like, Stranger Things also touches on coming of age, which is its own theme in itself, on top of having, like, we've seen that, especially in season 3, there was really complicated relationships. Also, while you have the Star Court, everything going on. But it has to play into it, but it really makes or breaks how happy of an ending, because even let's say, you know, upside down wise, there's a happy ending. Relationship wise, it might not be the same. So there's a lot of emotional things that's going to happen, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of these things, hopefully, we'll get a better hint at when we get more teaser trailers and then finally the full trailer, which will be much closer. So, yeah, we can speculate more when that stuff starts coming out. But yeah, there you go. That's our reaction to the Stranger Things 5 teaser trailer. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. Share us out on the social medias. You can also support me on patreon.com/boardnow, or you can be a channel member. Lots of extra perks across those tiers. And of course, thank you to Alex for joining us once again. We will definitely have her back, but if you just want to spend a minute or two promoting your channel and what you do.
Yeah. So you can follow me at somewhere in October, reacting to different movies. I am going to do a Stranger Things, basically ranking episodes from each season. I'm not ready to do a recap yet because I want everything to tie together. But I do weekly reactions. I'm watching Twin Peaks. And yeah, you can join me there.
Excellent. So some great TV over on Alex's channel, some great movies as well. Big into her horror movies as we are as well. And I will share her details in the description to this video as always. And we'll be back with more soon. Thanks everyone. Take care. See you again
Thanks,
soon.
everybody.